Welcome to Magic Club. I'm Andrew Main, joined by Jordan Gold.
What's up, guys?
And this other guy, it's Robert Ramirez. Wait, you're like, who's Robert Ramirez? I'm going to tell you what, if you don't know who Robert Ramirez is, you've got problems, buddy, or buddyette, because Robert is quite the talented guy. Robert's the guy that, like, I think Jordan is, like, amazing and talented, and I rave about Jordan behind his back in front of him. I just berate him. I make fun of him, all that. But when, behind his back, I tell people how great he is. But then Jordan's like, you should see Robert. Robert's really, really good. And I'm like, okay. All looks amazing to me.
That's what I like, that underground stuff.
Yeah. So underground, we call you the Magic Hobbit.
Yeah.
Magic Hobbit.
Because of my hairy feet.
Yes, that too. You got a lot of hair going on in general right now, to be honest with you.
It's true. I debated not keeping my hair in a bun and just kind of doing it like this. Well, I'm going to do it now.
All right. Welcome back to the show, Shane Cobalt.
Thanks, guys. I'm going to do my diagonal palm shift one more time, and I can't do it again.
Dude, if I could do it like that, I would do it all the time. So, Jordan, how would you describe Robert?
Robert is... I have a story, actually, about how I met Robert. I was at the Magic Castle with David Gabay, and we walked through the museum, and you were doing a set. You were performing, and Gabay knew you, so we like stopped for a minute. I watched you like vanish 4 aces in a really magical, weird way, like in a way that it was super, like your setup was pretty crazy. And then I totally just like, it was a flash. We walked by, and then I was at Disneyland the next day with Chris Kenner, and I was like, hey, there's this Royal Theater show. They're doing
all of Jordan's friends, by the way, from David and Chris Kenner. We've done it.
That's right. And so there's this Royal Theater where they were performing. It was Tangled, right?
Frozen at the time.
It was Frozen at the time. That's right. Oh, that's right. It was Frozen. And we go to see the show, and then I'm like looking at one of the characters in the show, like that guy looks really familiar. I think I saw him at the castle, but I don't know.
That'd be impossible because 1, if he's a magician, means that's the only skill he has. 2, he wouldn't have a real day job. 2, he wouldn't be working 2 days in a row. That's an impossibility.
Right. And you're like the Aces Vanish, I think was new and you were working on it. So it was a little like awkward. You were kind of like, oh, it's gone. And then in the show, you were like so good, like you stole the show, and it was so funny.
What was he? Was he Elsa? Who was he in Frozen?
He was everybody. It's Mr. Smythe and Mr. Jones.
Yeah, we do a 2-man storytelling of Frozen, and now it's Beauty and the Beast and Tangled. But the 2 characters do kind of everybody, and it's Elsa and Anna are there to like help tell the story, but the other 2 guys play everybody else.
Oh wow!
Yeah. And in the middle of the show, he comes out as Olaf, and he's a really great Olaf. He's hilarious, and he melted, and this whole thing. So then the next night, I'm at the castle again, and you come out of the close-up gallery, and I'm like freaking out. I'm like, wait a minute. So I grab you, and you have no idea who I am or what had happened. You're just like walking out the close-up gallery. I grab Robert, and he like freaks out. He's like, what? What happened? I'm like, hey, do you work at Disneyland? And he's like,
that show about the twins.
yeah. And he goes, yeah, I do.
Why are you grabbing onto me? This is really awkward and weird, sir.
I said, we have to like punk Kenner or something, you know? So we went out in the lobby, and I took a photo of Robert doing like a really goofy pose of free fly with his tongue out, like woo. And I sent it to Kenner like, hey, remember Olaf that you liked so much in the show yesterday? He's really good at three fly. And Kenner like freaked out.
Blew his mind.
And yeah, and we've all been friends ever since.
An hour later, Kenner texted me. So I got a random text. I was like, hey, this is Chris Kenner. I saw your Disneyland today. Do you want to give me your number? You're awesome. It was the weirdest text I've ever received.
You hit like the trifecta, you know, magic, working at Disney, knowing Jordan. And then you're in the Kenner Club. That's it.
That's the Kenner Club. That's our super secret podcast. We're doing Magic Club and Kenner Club after this.
It's only one person who listens to it, but I tell you that.
it's just you and me talking about Kenner.
It's a really expensive podcast, though.
So you're an actor. You're an actor, too, besides doing crazy, sick magic.
I'm an actor. I've been a professional performer for 10 years, over 10 years now. I did the national tour of In the Heights. I starred in that for about 9 months. That's Lin-Manuel's first Tony-winning musical. You know, Hamilton. That was
you missed out on the right one, buddy. Sorry.
That's why I'm growing my hair. Yeah. I'm going for the Hamilton look. And then, I worked at Disney for a long time, and now I just kind of do musicals wherever I can in Southern California.
So you're from Southern California originally?
I am. I'm from West Covina.
So it sounds like you're a very multi-talented guy. When did you pick up magic?
I picked up magic when I was 8 years old, and the first big magician I ever saw was Rick Thomas in Vegas. And I had his poster of Witness the Fantasy. He's like on the poster, and he signed it. So I went on stage with him. And then when I joined the castle, like 10 years later.
What did your friends say when they walked into your room and they saw on the wall Witness the Fantasy and Rick Thomas?
I don't remember, but I know at one point I just got embarrassed of it, so I got rid of it, which was really dumb of me. And then I met Rick Thomas at the castle.
Rick Thomas, stop looking at me. Oh,
it's a weird poster. I would say it's a little weird poster if you've never seen it before. And then I met Rick Thomas at the Castle Awards, and I went up to him and I was like, I was on stage with you when I was a kid. And he was like, what trick did you do? And I was like, I don't remember. He's like, did you levitate a girl? Did you kiss her to wake her up? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, nah, that was 15 years ago. It was the first year I did that effect.
Wow.
And then about 2 months ago, I found that poster online and I rebought it, and it's still sitting in the tube because I haven't put it up yet. I don't want
to put it back up in the room.
Yeah, it's gonna go back up.
Is that why you've got the hair? It's not really Hamilton, is it? You're going for the Rick Thomas thing.
Thomas. I'm doing a Rick Thomas tribute act.
So you, Jordan first met you doing Closeup, but do you define yourself as a Closeup magician, or do you say a generalist because you're making some references for Alan Wakeling earlier?
I would say I am a close-up magician at heart. I've been doing card magic for the last 10 years, and that's what I really like practice, and I still work on a lot. And within the last 2 years, I've been doing a lot more parlor stuff and trying to figure out how to expand, how to turn my performing skills and do it standing and kind of not be afraid of apparatus and not be afraid of that thing. Because I think a lot of magicians get caught up in their cards because it's easy to hide behind 52 things. It's really hard to hide behind not.
If you're doing a two-man show at Disney recreating Frozen for the most diehard Frozen audiences you could imagine, I think you might be able to make the transition pretty easily.
So Robert's actually, I'll say it, he's bringing Apparatus Magic back. We go to the Magic Castle swap meet, and he always buys like the goofiest looking box that it defies all modern, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Modern magic theory, where it's just like we're trying to get away from things that make no sense, which is all of magic apparatus. It's like, here's this weird thing. What is it? But
Correct.
Robert does it really well, and he always fools me with all this stuff. Like,
well,
yeah, that's what we should do in the secret session. I should do Cube on release.
You should.
I should. You know what? I'm going to do that. I'll go grab it. And we're gonna have I literally have another phase to an apparatus trick that was made in the 50s, and I've been fooling everybody with it.
So for those of you who don't know, we do a section called The Secret Session, which is a separate episode we record, which is available to our Patreon supporters. If you go to patreon.com/Magic Club, sign up. It's only $2 per episode. You get those episodes, those secret sessions, and that's where we get our buddies in, or we just jam with stuff that we don't really want to put out there into like the larger domain, so to speak, but there's some really, really awesome things there. And I say this from somebody who's an experienced magician, but I love hanging out with my friends who've got a lot of cool things to show and teach. I learn stuff every new episode. Maybe it's something I've done before, but it's a new handling on it. Maybe it's a new move that I didn't have a better approach to do it, or it's something totally new I haven't done before. It's been an awesome experience, and so I'm excited that you're going to be on here because given how highly Jordan's spoken of you, I'm gonna learn some cool stuff, right?
Yes.
Cool.
And if you guys want to see a preview of some of Robert's apparatus magic, you can check it out on the secret sessions.
Sweet. I have no. I used to be as an illusionist when I was a kid. I'm like, I'm fine with apparatus, but I'm like, why do I have this box? Why do I have this? And then I got away from it. But now that I've gotten into this idea of the personality-centric magician, I'm like, it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. Use whatever you want. A lot of magicians eschew it, like, oh, you're using this props and stuff. Guess what? The fact that you're using a deck of cards doesn't make you Gandalf. You know, it doesn't matter what you use. It's if the audience believes you and buys into you, that's totally fine. And I think magicians would get obsessed over the props while ignoring character and personality. And it became a very convenient, like, oh, they're just using the props. Like, does it matter? Does the audience care?
I think, too, we're at a point where Apparatus turns into something almost historical, that we're holding these kind of old-fashioned pieces, and we can just make the piece about it being kind of this old-school magic that we're going to bring back. And that's how, in the secret sessions, you'll see how the pattern I use for the cube on release, and it really just, I make the prop seem important, and then everyone makes it important, and now it doesn't matter what I do with it.
I think that's wonderful. I think that's a really great presentation, and I would argue that like card tricks are kind of they're prop magic, and we magicians were so ubiquitous as using them all the time. But fun fact, I've asked this of lay people, of non-magicians. Do you know how many of them had a deck of cards on them at the time I spoke to them? 0. Magicians, different situation. So what we take for normal, they don't, and whatever we bring into our world or from their world, it's fine. So, gentlemen, I've got some interesting magic news to share with you, and I want to get some of your takes on this. Apparently, Salem, as in Salem, Mass, has now named their first official magician. Anton the Great has been named this. The city council voted unanimously Thursday night to name Salem native Anton James Andreessen as the city's first official magician. So, as far as what you consider, what's a magician? I think they're talking like straight up magic and not like, he's going to be leading, the naked, circle dance
Moonlight
at night, which,
yeah.
I'm not allowed to talk about the stuff we do in the castle basement, but that kind of thing. So I think that's kind of a fun, neat idea. What a great idea for a city to do something like that, to have a magician ambassador.
I agree.
Is that going to open the floodgates now? Everyone's going to be rushing to become the official magician of their local counties or states.
Does West Covina have an official magician?
I was about to say no. But I say we already have a spokesperson. That's Rachel Bloom from My Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, because the whole show takes place in West Covina.
Right. But imagine this.
I'm out of it.
But imagine this. You go to your city. You say, hey, listen, I have a proposal. This is done in some other cities. Is you name an official magician. I would suggest myself there first for the first year, but I'm open to a nomination procedure. And they're like, well, what is this going to be? This is what I'll do. I'll visit hospitals on behalf of the city. If you have people from other cities or other places you want to entertain or whatever, I'll make myself available to do this. I just want to spread magic and good cheer in the name of our city doing this. And, next stop, governor.
First magic governor.
Yep.
Actually, I wonder how many politicians, if any, have ever been magicians. That's a good question.
You'd think that'd be a deal.
We have a lot of actor politicians, so that's kind of scary.
But yeah, magician ones. I don't know. I'm afraid to find out. Someone
must dabble in magic in that world.
God, that's the thing you don't want coming out.
Terrifying.
Another news, a little bit controversy coming out here, which is that a magician this is on Britain's Got Talent, claimed that he went in to do the auditions for the show, that he had an effect or performed an effect, and they had a lot of questions about his effect, and then he didn't go beyond a certain point, and then he said that when they brought on another performer, which was this little girl who was doing this sort of Harry Potter themed act, that she actually performed one of his tricks, which was like a card revelation involving a t-shirt. Like in the case of like she was on the show, and then like she had Simon Cowell picked a card, and she opened up her shirt, and it was a picture of Simon Cowell holding the card, and he claims that this was actually something he discussed with them, or something very similar to this, which is scary territory. So I guess that's the question, is anytime you discuss something with a producer of one of these talent shows, I would say that I wouldn't say to any specific show in general, but I would say that their concept of ownership and or point of origin maybe not as strict as ours.
That it happens a lot here in LA too, where there's like a casting call for a magician for some commercial, and they say, yeah, bring some stuff, and they'll watch 20 magicians who all show up with different ideas of what they want to do, and they're recording all the casting. They go, that's great, and then they just hire some model, and they just steal the trick basically, and they CGI it or figure it out or whatever. But they'll just go, oh, this was a cool trick. Like, let's take that idea and just, have some guy doing this with CGI. Like, stars just coming out of his hands, you know.
I did an episode of Brain Games a few months ago that was posted on our Magic Castle Facebook group that just said, looking for this. And so I emailed that account and said, what do I need to do in order to submit for this? I was really bored. I don't usually submit for stuff like that. And they said, oh, here's the script for it. And they basically described an ambitious card routine. And I knew that if I wanted to get hired, I would have to go beyond that ambitious card routine to show, like, nobody else can do what I'm about to do. So I made, like, flap cards. I did a deck switch. I had, like, a 52. Like, I did, like, the craziest slights. And then they were like, oh, yeah, that's much better. Yeah, we want to use you. And then I did it just because I knew if you just went, it's at the top, like, everyone's going to do that. But the second you start doing stuff like flap cards and, like, more gimmicks and more heavy slights, they're going to go, he must be the only person who can do that because I've never seen it.
What was the script brilliant. For? What was the
it was like, I mean, the hand is quicker than the eye, essentially. So they had, I probably have a card sitting here. Aha, I have them. So they had a bunch of fox cards, and then they had one rabbit card. And you had to follow the rabbit as it was being chased by the fox. So, like, the rabbit goes in the center and it jumps up to the top. And then at the end, they spread the whole deck of cards, and they all say the Fox logo, the TV network's logo. And it was like, and then they sent me a small video of, like, whoever in the studio was like, oh, we should do it like this. And he knew, like, basic magic. And so he was just doing, like, the most basic routine of it to be like, yeah, we'll find someone who can do this. So the second I went, like,
funny because I submitted for the same thing.
I'm sure you did.
It was weird because they posted a video of the this, that, and the other trick from YouTube, correct. Right? Yeah. Which is it's like Color Monty basically, and they said correct. This is what we want, which is Color Monty, and then they sent the script, which was not at all Color Monty. It was like correct. With 52 cards. And I'm sitting there looking at the video that they sent, saying this is exactly what we want, and then the script, which was completely different, going like, how do I what's going on? So I sent them, so I sat down and figured something out, but I didn't make flap cards or any of that crap.
I'll show you, next time I see you in person, Jordan, I'll show you the video that I made. I sent 2 different videos, and I was like, what about these 2?
I'd love to see it. I've got mine somewhere. But.
So that's for a lot of people don't know. If you're outside of LA, it may seem like a different experience. But in LA, of course, every day there's going to be some casting or something out there. They're looking for a magician, maybe their hands or whatever, to do something. Sometimes it's to be on camera. Sometimes it's to do double work for other magicians. Jordan's done that. Probably you've done that. Or double work for actually actors playing the part of magicians. There's a lot of that comes out there. And Robert, what you did is you said, hey, I know you've got some of the best magicians in the world who are going to be doing this, and I'm not going to take it literal. I'm going to go the extra step, and I'm going to read this differently, or I'm going to give them something that they haven't seen before, because that'll stand out of everything else. And I've seen people who, like, they get flooded with the castings, and it's like, 90% are just wrong out the, to begin with, and some people might have the right look or whatever, but the skill set isn't there. But if you can match the two together, that's how you get booked. And I've seen that outside of magic and acting. People, it's sort of a mystery. And, I never wanted to become, really like become an actor, because I'm like, I fall into that category of not having any talent. So it's not even worthwhile to pursue that there. But when it comes to magic, you look for how do you stand apart. I knew when I wanted to do television magic, when I wanted to get my own series, I had to go in there and I had to be different than every other magician they'd talk to. I knew not only did I have to go in there with really cool magic to do in the room, I couldn't feel like a magician. I couldn't feel like every other magician they've talked to, and these are people who've talked to every magician on the planet. So that's critical. And whether it's a case of we're making your hand stand out, you went that extra effort, which is brilliant. I
just wanted to beat Jordan.
It's a worthwhile
It worked.
cost.
Finally.
Sounds like it did. Sounds like it did. And that's an interesting part of kind of a magician's life can be out here. On one hand, you're working on your skills for your regular show, maybe performing at the castle every now and then doing real shows, and then working on things like auditioning for pieces. Maybe it's putting together some larger set sort of stuff. What is your goal as a magician over time?
To not have the same act for 15 years.
Ooh, okay. Right. It's a good one.
Not that I think that's a bad thing, but I think some people are unaware what they're doing is a little outdated.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's some people that update what they've been doing, which is great, and I think they keep it fresh, even though maybe it's the same effects or whatever. But I think they're able to sustain that and make it still very entertaining. And I think there are some people who are still lost in 1970.
It's a very scary thing, not just to be temporarily lost to react as an update, but I think that some people look at Magic as a canvas that you get to paint upon. You get a fresh white canvas, you can choose the paints, you can choose the brushes, and you can do this. Other people just look at it like, well, I want to have a painting that I can say that I did this, or I just want to do the paint by numbers sort of thing and call myself a painter. I see this in writing all the time. I talk to a lot of people that they want to be writers, but they don't want to write. People, I want to be a magician, but I don't want to invent. I don't want to do that. And it doesn't mean that you have to, if you want to invent or create, it doesn't mean that you have to be the sole creator. I think somebody who does a fantastic job is Justin Willman. And Justin Willman works with a group of people, brings them in. He has a brain trust. They bounce ideas around. And I watch the evolution of that. And I don't know if Justin would ever call himself a magic creator, but his magic is very creative because he works with a good team. And there are other people like David Copperfield, who is by himself a very, very good magic inventor and how he functions. But David works with a team. David brings us in. David Blaine, the same thing. And so you, as the talking to other people out there, you can create and innovate even if you don't feel that you're maybe a good methods person. You get a couple people together, you get a brain trust and say, how do I make this better? And you have to have a goal. You have to have a goal of what you set out with. And I imagine your situation with that Ambitious was, I've got to make it look like the Ambitious card, but an Ambitious card nobody's ever seen before. I can't go way out there and use credit cards or something different or some abstract objects. I got to stick with the cards, but my goal is I want them to watch a bunch of them and then go, wait, we have no idea how he did that.
Yeah. I think the other important thing, if you're interested in doing anything with TV, film, whatever, is that producers have very little imagination, the people you're getting in front of. So for mine, I just use a deck of cards and I'm like, okay, well, the ace is going to be, and everything was symbolic. And I sent them the video and I then explained, this could be this and this and that, because I didn't take the extra time and effort to like make a fox card because I just didn't. I think it was in Texas. Voice. I just didn't care. I didn't care enough. Clearly, I didn't have the passion.
I believe though.
It's better to go ahead and make it, and so they can actually see what it is rather than try to sell them on the idea of it.
I do a lot of magic theater consulting, and the problem I hit immediately always is directors or the creative team saying this is what happens, but then that's all they say, and then something magical happens and you go, well, what does that mean? And they go, well, something magical happens. This is where the magic happens.
Yeah.
You go, great.
It's like they're doing a musical and then we have a song here.
Correct.
Yeah. What kind of song? A good song. No, it's a good song. This is what I do.
There's going to be dancing. We've got set pieces. It's going to be great.
So over the last few years that I've been doing that more and more and doing bigger and bigger productions, I know the solution to that, which is you just make it and you go, see, and then they go, oh, or they go, no, and then you just make something else. Like It's kind of the worst. It's the best and the worst thing. It's the best because you get to be very creative and you get to try really new things. You just get to try things. And then it's the worst because sometimes it's really good and then they say no. And you're like,
how often did they fall in love with it until they saw the method and then they're like, don't think that'll work?
It's very strange. The other side of the coin that we see, magic consulting for theater, is you do something that they go, that's amazing, let's do it. And then 2 weeks later, they say, but I can see the wire. And you go, but you didn't see the wire the first time I did it. And they go, yeah, I know. But, like, I can see the wire. So do you have something else?
I was working with David Gabay on a little 30-second TV commercial spots for Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards. And one of the things they wanted us to do was float the blimp. And the blimp trophy is like ceramic. It's 6 pounds.
I would say, whoa, it's floating small. A blimp. Ooh.
But the blimp trophy.
I'm going to make a block of dry ice disappear overnight, guys.
It's like everyone's seen it's the blimp orange kaleidoscope trophy. I really wanted them to let me keep it, but they won't. Anyways,
there's one way to get that, Jordan.
From Rudy Kobe's lecture about making a copy of your head, which is a great lecture. We took saran wrap, wrapped the thing, wrapped it in tape, cut it open, and made a shell so that we could have a zombie shell. And the whole thing was we put this over, and then somebody underneath the table takes the blimp down, the thing's floating. It's very exciting. And then as soon as the director saw the zombie gimmick, she's like, but I can see what's going on. And we're like, you can, but it's great. You can see it. And she didn't like it. So we had to rejigger the whole thing. And I ended up under the table with a stick going up into Gabbay's jacket, coming out so that he could do the zombie and then let go and just have this moment where he's letting go. And I'm literally under the table, like with my hands.
I like how you started the story with someone under the table, and then it turned out to be Jordan under the table.
That's the twist at the end. And I have there's a video of the final product, and then I took backstage video of me doing all this choreography and we had to figure it all out on set. So I'm speaking to him as we're going, like, okay, now you do this, and then we put this in. It ended up working, but it was very frustrating because one person didn't have the imagination to see what it was supposed to look like outside of the actual.
Well, it's almost like, it's kind of like when you're a magician and you see a trick that you get fooled by, then you learn it, and then as you're performing it, because you can see the method, you think everyone else can see the method.
Yeah.
So it's the same way. She saw the shell. She knew the shell existed, so now that's all she can see.
Yeah, I'd say that I'm not saying that situation, but I've seen in other situations. I'm like, I can judge the skill of the producer or the director by their ability to understand what the audience is going to perceive. And,
yes,
and
I would say 100% of the directors I worked with don't see that.
Yeah,
I've never had someone just go, yeah, let's just do that.
Yeah,
it's one of the unique skills that you develop in Magic, though, is being able to compartmentalize the user experience versus the operator experience. And it's like theater too, because it's, you've got backstage and everything's running around like crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully it's more organized than that.
Well,
but
I'll throw out like a couple of people. Like, I've never worked directly with, but I've had friends that have, Spielberg and J.J. Abrams. And those guys both have in common, and Abrams is a magician, knows magic. Spielberg's had a love of magic, and they love a gimmick. They'll go, "Oh, that's a great gimmick. That'll work. We can use that. We'll use that method." And they go, "Oh, that's perfect. It's great." It's not like it loses its allure. Abrams is a guy that will, redress the entire the theater at his production company to look like the bar in one of the Star Trek movies, to grab a couple shots. We'll shoot something on top of a parking garage to match a shot that was shot on location. Where he just does these really inventive, creative things. He gets magic. He gets that thinking, and he's the kind of person that you can present something to him. He won't go, "Oh no, people will know that we shot this here," or whatever. He's like, he understands how the eye and the brain works. And Spielberg's like that too.
Yeah.
That's why Spielberg was able to do just early on one of these amazing sort of wonderkin kind of things. He saw a good gimmick and could get that. But other people, I think if they don't have a strong visual sense, then that's a problem for them. It can be. They get very caught up into what the information is, and I have this information that this is a method. So
yeah,
it's be frustrating. So that's a thing to keep in mind. You know what we like to do at this point, I think we're going to wrap things up here, is some recommendations and some picks and things like that. And I recommend, and this is something I brought up, if you get a chance to go to Disneyland or Disney World, go watch the live shows. Because you will see I think this is one of the most well-produced forms of live entertainment you will ever see. They bring in the biggest experts they can from Broadway and other locations, obviously talented people like Robert here, and it's the idea there they have to deal with is they've got 100,000 people in this theme park. They've got to get them in, get them out. They've got to give them a complete experience. They've got to make sure that a 4-year-old can understand it and an 80-year-old can understand it. They go through several iterations from the time somebody says, "Hey, why don't we do this kind of show," to where it gets up on stage, and then as they run through that show, making those sort of modifications. It's amazing to see that, and watching how one of the largest entertainment companies in the world that produces things like Marvel Comics movies and Star Wars, how they also produce live entertainment, is absolutely informative.
Yeah, absolutely. A good example for that was the Indiana Jones show at Walt Disney World.
Oh,
That's done unbelievable, and you kind of just go, "This has been here for quite a long time, and I can't believe so much thought, and it's so clever." the way it works. What is Jordan doing?
Oh, yeah, that show is so amazing, and it's for people who never had a chance to see it, I feel bad because it's a show that involves everything from the giant ball trying to run over Indiana Jones to the market. They do the whole scene through the market to the airplane sequence, the fight with the airplane and go underneath the propellers, and it looks amazing. All of that in a live show, and I think I dig some of the things are cool. Some of these big more animatronic shows, the Transformer stuff that's done at Universal, that's kind of cool. But when it comes to integrating humans and physical elements and stuff like that, that Indiana Jones thing. The Waterworld show is kind of cool, but the movie didn't exactly like people.
If you can make it to Disneyland, definitely check out the Royal Theater show because it's amazing what they're doing, telling the entire story with all the characters using just 2 sort of narrators. And it's a very sort of minimalistic style, almost Renaissance Fair style show with a real production value to it. I haven't seen a show that's really I can compare it to, but it's delightful, especially when Robert's in it.
Thank you.
Any other recommendations or picks?
My actual recommendation is going to be Royal Road to Card Magic, because every time I see Robert at the castle, he shows me some card trick I've never seen before that's super hip, and he destroys me with it. I'm like, I have no idea what that is. I've never even seen anything like it. And he's like, dude, Royal Road to Card Magic. It's in there, page 35. And that's what I was doing over here. I was trying to find it. It's in there somewhere. I don't want to waste too much time. Robert might have it over there.
I'm going to recommend one thing I'm about to read. So what I do with, and I will challenge you two to this. It's a very fun thing to do. It's very hard. It's very difficult. I challenge everybody to do this. That's the only thing I say is it's really hard, but it's very rewarding. Is you take one magic book, usually like Royal Road's perfect for this. Expert Card Technique's a little bit more difficult. And you read the book from page 1 to the end, but you have to do everything in the. You have to physically do it. If it teaches you how to do a double lift, you have to learn the double lift the way it teaches in the book, the handling, everything. You do every single trick all the way through. If there's full sets you have to do, like you learn the whole thing. And that's why I know so much about Royal Road, is that's what I did a few years ago. And I just started finding all these tricks that I went, oh, I've never seen this before. Why has no one done this? And then I started doing it. People are going, I don't know what that is. And I'm going, it's Royal Road, you guys. So right now I'm about to do it. I'm about to do it with Inner Secrets of Magic, Inner Secrets of Card Magic, Di Vernon. It's a smaller book. The smaller books are really easy to do, like how to do tricks with cards.
Oh my God!
So this is all. So what's good about this, is something like this, is it's small. It's small enough that you can get through this. And it doesn't have a ton of like crazy tricks in it, but it's just enough that makes you go, oh, I can do a variation of something I just read that I've never seen before. So I recommend a small book, and you just literally go beginning to end, and you do every trick. And it changes your thinking. It changes your knowledge of magic. It really informs a ton.
This is one of the first books I ever had on card magic as a kid, and there's so much hip stuff in here. I mean, if you're trying to get into card magic, like this is one of my favorite books that I probably read this book more than any other magic book.
Oh wow.
But anyways,
I remember when I worked at a magic shop as a teenager, we had a kid come in. He was excited because it was his first magic shop he'd ever been to. He literally lived on a farm in Iowa, and I was the first magician he ever met, which take that as you will. And the kid said, oh, let me show you something. He takes out a deck of cards, and he was like 12 years old, and he was amazing. His technique was incredible. He only had like one book, and it was like Royal Road or whatever like that, and he just had devoured it entirely, and in a total vacuum, not knowing what's good or what's bad, just doing and having to do the same tricks over and over again to his family to make it better, and to the cows or whatever. But he was insane, and I'm like, keep at it, kid. Maybe you'll get there. But no, it was just, that kind of devotion. So that's great advice. Keep doing it. Work your way all the way through a book. And so, yeah, guys, I get it. You got the book. All right. Gentlemen, it'd be awesome is let's pick Robert's brain here, and let's go into our secret session here and learn some stuff. So,
yes, I'm excited.
Jordan, you want to bring this episode to a close? What's that?
Should I put pants on for it?
No, gosh, no. Why start?
No, this is Magic Club.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, good.
Do you want to, Robert? Do you want to tease a little bit, other than your world-renowned Apparatus Magic that you're going to be previewing?
We're gonna do some interesting little intricate things that I've come up with that are fun. So one is like a lapel shot, where you shoot 4 of a kind from a lapel spread.
It's not that's kind. It's not done to 4 kinds.
Well, I have outs. It basically came from like, it came from like knacky things that I've come up with, and I had to find how to like fix things. Because sometimes when I do that, only 3 cards show up. So I've while working out knacky things, I've come up with outs. So even if I don't hit it every time, I can do something. And so that's what kind of we're going to look at. Some stuff that you kind of, maybe you do a cool flourish and it doesn't work every time. But like how to problem solve that and actually how to make your mistakes really work for you. Even
I guess it might be helpful to some people because I don't have that problem.
Because I don't know. I kind of thought of a joke, didn't come.
You can't mess up flourishes if you don't know how to do any. Yeah, oh, sick burn. Oh.
All right, done. I'm ending this episode of Magic Club. Join me next time with my co-host, to be determined.
All right, Invisible Gavel. That's it.